The NFL draft always offers a heavy dose of hype, promise, and plenty of disappointment, and 2015 was no different. This particular batch features a mix of names who are still playing at a high level now, some who are just about clinging on to their NFL careers, and some that you will have downright forgotten about. From a player who got caught stealing,
right? I mean, everybody...
Stone crabs?
Yeah, whatever that whole theft thing was at Publix or whatever it might have been. I don't know the whole... I just know it happened. That's like the elephant in the room for you. I mean, everyone's going to want to know what happened.
To quite possibly one of the biggest busts of all time, this is what happened to the 2015 draft class and where they are now. Now with the first overall pick, we have one of the most polarizing quarterbacks of all time, and personally, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time too.
We now have surveillance video showing Heisman Trophy winner Jameis Winston casually walking out of a grocery store with crab legs. He walks out with about $32 worth of crab legs and crawfish without paying. Winston later admitted to walking out of the store without paying and has already served several hours of community service. In the video, you also see Winston following a security guard out of the store.
I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
Arriving with a Heisman Trophy and a national championship from his time at Florida State, Winston got off to a good start by throwing for 4,042 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, also collecting 213 more yards and another 6 touchdowns on the ground. The strong-armed, competitive quarterback couldn't lift his team from the bottom of the division in year 1, but he did make his first Pro Bowl in the All-Rookie team. And I mean, it was a promising start from the first overall selection, and I mean, his yardage numbers continued to improve over the years too. The only problem is, though, as we all know, the interception numbers also joined the passing yards and ticking up too. Eventually, this culminated into one of the most wild 2019 seasons we've seen, in which he passed for 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions.
Only 3 points scored in the entire half. An interception for a touchdown. It's Debo Jones. And he ties that 30-30, the first guy to do it.
He still sits at 7th on the all-time leaderboard for most interceptions in a single season. And with this being in his last year of the rookie deal, the Buccaneers opted not to re-sign Winston, instead upgrading to Tom Brady. I mean, not a bad option, especially considering the GOAT led them to the Super Bowl. Since then, Winston has spent the last 4 seasons with my New Orleans Saints, where he has mostly been a backup, as one glimmer of hope did arrive in 2021 when he got off to a 5-2 start and threw 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, but a heartbreaking ACL tear came just at the wrong time. He hasn't had another shot since and has just signed with the Cleveland Browns to back up Deshaun Watson.
Public service announcement, Dog Pound, what's up? It's your new quarterback, Jameis Winston, coming here to help lead and support and help get us some victories. All right, you know we're here, we're live and local. We know you love us. I can't wait to see you soon.
With the second pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Marcus Mariota, quarterback, Oregon.
Now, just like Winston before him, Mariota entered the league as a Heisman Trophy winner, tasked to turning around a Titans side that had just registered a 2-14 season. Spoiler alert, he couldn't. Mariota's 2,818 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions were enough to improve the Titans' efforts by a single victory, giving them a 3-13 record that was good enough for a second consecutive last place finish in the division. And I mean, in all fairness to Mariota, he ended up missing 4 games that season with injury. But I mean, he did show some dual threat ability, as he did rush for 252 yards, and I believe it was like 6 touchdowns that season. But I mean, honestly, the upside never quite matched his overall selection of being at number 2. The team's best result came in 2017 when the Tennessee Titans made it all the way to the divisional round of the playoffs, where they then lost to the New England Patriots. During that one playoff season during Mariota's tenure, he completed 62% of his passes for 3,232 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, adding 312 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rusher. And to put it this way, it really wasn't Mariota who propelled them to that playoff appearance that year. He did, however, provide everybody with this amazing moment, catching his own deflected pass for a touchdown in the wildcard round against Kansas City, which not many people can say. Unfortunately, Mariota's career was marred by inconsistent play and injuries. He struggled with shoulder injuries, elbow issues, and a broken fibula throughout his time in Tennessee. By 2019, he had been replaced by Ryan Tannehill, and he resorted to backup duties for a bit. First in Tennessee, then in Las Vegas, before finally getting another starting opportunity in Atlanta. Failing to set the world on fire there, he then spent a season in Philadelphia in 2023 before settling for his next backup role in Washington this year.
With the third pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Dante Fowler Jr., defensive end, Florida.
Unfortunately, it was a disastrous start to life in the NFL for Fowler, who tore his ACL and missed his entire rookie season. When he finally could take the field in 2016 as a sophomore, Fowler turned in a solid but not spectacular season, recording 32 tackles and 4 sacks. He managed to step up things in 2017 when he contributed to a formidable Jaguars defense that helped propel the team all the way to the AFC Championship game, where they lost to the New England Patriots. Fowler's tackle numbers dipped to 21, but he did log 8 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, one of which he returned for a touchdown. Unfortunately though, he was really unable to convince the Jaguars with his stats that he was worth keeping around, so they ended up letting him go. While flashing at times, Fowler had underperformed in relation to his high draft selection, and he was traded to the LA Rams halfway through the 2018 season. While his production did peak in his second season with the Rams to the tune of a career-best 58 tackles, he never managed to capitalize on the momentum, going on to produce a couple of underwhelming stints in both Atlanta and Dallas. The former third overall pick has signed with the Commanders for the 2024 season, but he is essentially just a depth piece now. And unfortunately, he really never came close to delivering on that status of being picked at third overall. And I mean, it really begs the question you have to wonder, if he didn't get injured in his rookie season, what could have been of his career?
With the fourth pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Amari Cooper, wide receiver, Alabama.
Amari Cooper became an Oakland Raider and quickly proved his quality by collecting 1,070 yards and 6 touchdowns as a rookie, which was enough to earn him his first Pro Bowl selection. The former Biletnikoff winner then followed up with another strong season as a sophomore, posting 1,153 yards and 5 touchdowns to collect his second consecutive Pro Bowl appearance to open his career. And despite a down year in 2017, the Dallas Cowboys were tempted by Cooper's size and route running ability, pulling the trigger on a trade midway through the 2018 season.
Oakland Raiders will be willing to trade almost anyone on the roster, and they just traded a huge piece. Amari Cooper, their first-round pick, star receiver, is headed to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a first-round pick. Now,
once again, Cooper made an instant impact, posting 725 yards and 6 touchdowns in just the 9 games that remained that year. And in doing so, he helped the team reach the playoffs and won his 3rd Pro Bowl. His 4th Pro Bowl selection then arrived 1 year later as Cooper posted new career highs in his first full season with the Cowboys, where he had 1,189 yards and 8 touchdowns, and continued a trend of consistently strong performances from Cooper. He was now a reliable player that could move the chains and make big plays when needed.
Prescott goes to the end zone. Pass is caught. Cooper, touchdown.
It was a surprise, therefore, that Cooper was traded to the Cleveland Browns for just a 5th-round pick prior to the 2022 season. In a new city once again, Cooper has kept up the good performances, logging 2 1,000-yard seasons, including a 1,250-yard effort in 2023 that marked a new career high and also welcomed his 5th Pro Bowl honor. Cooper is exactly what you want from an outside receiver, collecting over 9,000 yards and 60 touchdowns from his 9 years in the league so far. Now at pick number 5, the Washington Commanders selected Brandon Sheriff to bolster their offensive line. Having just won the Outland Trophy as the nation's best interior lineman, Sheriff came with high expectations, and he delivered. As a rookie, he started all 16 games and played a crucial role in helping the team win the division, improving from last place the year before. His first Pro Bowl appearance arrived in 2016, kickstarting a spell of quality, power, and consistency that made him one of the most respectable guards in the NFL. Between 2016 and 2021, he went to the Pro Bowl every season apart from in 2018, while also collecting first-team All-Pro honors in 2020. Whether it was as a pass blocker for his quarterback or a run blocker for the team's running back, Sheriff was elite, and the result was a lucrative contract with the Jaguars in 2022, where he still plays. Washington got their money's worth with the 5th overall selection, with Brandon Sheriff going down as a definitive hit near the top of the 2015 NFL Draft. Now with the 6th overall pick, the New York Jets addressed their defensive line with the addition of Leonard Williams. The large defensive end immediately made his presence felt, starting 15 games in which he recorded 63 tackles, 3 sacks, and 7 tackles for loss. He was a solid all-around performer for New York, particularly effective in the run game and winning a spot on the all-rookie team for his efforts. Williams took his play up a notch in 2016, improving to 68 tackles, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles, making himself a key figure in the heart of the Jets' defensive unit and earning a Pro Bowl selection as well. Unfortunately though, he really could have little impact in really turning around New York's just miserable performances year after year, and a lack of any further development from Williams kind of just capped him as like a good player and not like a great player at his position. He continued to contribute as both a pass rusher and a run defender, but has not managed to win another Pro Bowl nomination or other accolades. His time in a Jets uniform came to an end in 2019 when he moved across the city to don the blue of the New York Giants. As a Giant, Williams did produce arguably his best season yet before setting a career high in tackles in 2021 with 81. Halfway through the 2023 season, Williams was traded to Seattle, marking the first time in his 9-year pro career that he would be playing football outside of New York. He's hoping he can get back to his best in his first full season as a Seahawk in 2024. Now, with the 7th overall pick, we have quite possibly one of the biggest busts of all time, especially at the wide receiver position, which was the 2nd wide receiver taken off the board in this year's draft, with the Chicago Bears selecting Kevin White. White was a playmaking machine with an impressive size and speed combination, but his career was marred by endless injuries. And I mean, it's not entirely his fault and really a heartbreaking story for a young man who had such a bright future in the NFL. But as I said earlier, the reality of it is that Kevin White is one of the biggest busts in the NFL draft era. White could only muster up 397 yards across his entire career. Yes, his entire career. His rookie season was lost because of a stress fracture in his shin before a fractured fibula and a high ankle sprain resulted in him playing just 4 games in 2016. Across those 4 games, White caught 19 passes for 187 yards, making up the majority of his career production. 1 year later, a fractured shoulder blade in the 2017 season opener gave him his 3rd season-ending injury in as many years. Having played just 5 games across his first 3 seasons, it was clear that White was never going to be able to develop into an NFL receiver and deliver on his top 10 selection. He did manage to play in 9 games in 2018, but the result was just 92 yards and no touchdowns. The Bears, unsurprisingly, decided not to pick up his 5th-year option, resulting in a 2-year hiatus in which he tried and failed to catch on a few other teams. And I mean, he eventually did catch on with the Saints, who, for some godforsaken reason, tried to give this guy a chance, but his 2 seasons there just produced 3 receptions for 112 yards. No touchdowns and just 397 yards render Kevin White our biggest bust in 2015. Now, the Falcons owned the 8th overall pick in the 2015 draft, which they used on Vic Beasley, a defensive end out of Clemson. Promising signs came from Beasley's rookie season, in which he recorded 4 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, but it was his 2016 season that really got everybody excited. I mean, as a sophomore, Vic Beasley went absolutely berserk, logging a career-high 15.5 sacks, 29 tackles, and a league-leading 6 forced fumbles, one of which he returned for a touchdown. He was a one-man wrecking crew coming off the edge, earning himself a Pro Bowl selection and a first-team All-Pro. His speed and explosiveness could rarely be stopped, and he was super influential in helping the Falcons reach the Super Bowl that year. Unfortunately, that was the same year of 28-3, but that does make him the 3rd player on this list to suffer playoff heartbreak at the hands of Tom Brady's Patriots. And I mean, look, at this point and up to this point in Beasley's career, the Falcons had thought that they drafted the next defensive player of the year. Like, they were so sure that this kid was legit and he was going to be good. But that 2016 season would never be repeated by Beasley. In fact, he would actually start to decline. He posted just 5 sacks in each of his next 2 seasons. He improved to register 8 sacks in 2019, but it wasn't enough to convince the Falcons to keep him in Atlanta, resulting in him signing a 1-year deal in Tennessee. After a miserable start to the 2020 campaign, the Titans opted to cut Beasley mid-season, and he briefly signed with the Raiders, but was unable to make any good plays on tape there either. So as it stands right now, Beasley hasn't played in the NFL since, and quite the fall from grace after an exceptional sophomore campaign in 2016. Ereck Flowers was the 9th overall pick, heading to the Giants to take on the left tackle role. He struggled as a rookie, conceding 5 sacks, 47 hurries, and 10 penalties, which is not good, and with people often criticizing his technique too. His troubles continued throughout the next 3 seasons, giving up 169 pressures, which was the most by any offensive tackle. He was even accused by former teammate and NFL analyst Jeff Schwartz of quitting on the team. After he was benched in the 2018 season, the Giants decided to cut their losses and release Flowers. From then onwards, Flowers has become somewhat of a journeyman, playing for Jacksonville, Washington, Miami, and then Washington again, and he's even moved to the guard position and showed steady signs of improvement, but not enough to convince a team to keep him for any longer than a year.
With the 10th pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Todd Gurley, running back, Georgia.
Todd Gurley was a highly respected running back with impressive speed, power, and versatility. He hit the ground running, earning the Offensive Rookie of the Year award because of an 1,100-yard season accompanied by 10 touchdowns. It was an incredible effort, made even more impressive by the fact that he missed the first 2 games of the season as he recovered from an ACL tear suffered in college. A tricky year in 2016 set the alarm bells ringing for Rams fans, but their concerns were quickly banished as Gurley exploded into form in 2017 under new head coach Sean McVay. Gurley was the focal point of the offense in 2017, rushing for 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground, while also collecting 788 yards and 6 more touchdowns through the air. He was an absolute machine, amassing a total of 2,093 yards and a league-leading 19 touchdowns, which was enough for him to win the prestigious Offensive Player of the Year award and his first-team All-Pro selection. His second first-team All-Pro selection arrived 1 year later as Gurley logged another impressive season that featured 1,200 rushing yards and a league-leading 17 touchdowns on the ground, to go along with 580 more yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. During that 2-year stretch, Gurley was one of the most feared offensive playmakers in the NFL, leading the Rams to the playoffs in 2017 and to a heartbreaking Super Bowl loss in 2018. And unfortunately, the later stages of that 2018 season are when we started to see some, concerns about Gurley's knee. And from that point onwards, he really was never the same player. His production dipped below 4 yards per carry in 2019 and 2020, with the lingering knee issues resulting in an early end to what was a short but remarkable career. All in all, though, it's a pretty underwhelming top 10, with most players failing to come good on their hype, but Amari Cooper and Brandon Sheriff did deliver at a high level for their teams, but it will be a class that is remembered mostly for an underwhelming quarterback play, of which Mariota and Winston were just really mediocre, and busts like Kevin White. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of this class and any of the guys that were listed on here. Personally, for me, Jameis still will be one of my favorite players ever. I think just his antics of all time. The dude is a legend for what he's done. Just hilarious. Everything he does is hilarious. But again, let me know down in the comment section below, what draft class should we do next? Or should we start to do some other stuff? Let me know. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.